What is going on in Illinois?
BS. It was a whole bunch of BS.
After the death of Sonia Massey, police just 2 hours away in Macomb, Illinois, are in hot water.
Let me see your hands! I screamed so loud.
This is the woman in danger. She said that her boyfriend was drunk and stabbed her 25 times.
I just wanted to make sure my son was safe.
But when police showed up, the officer not only shot her boyfriend, but her innocent son too.
He shot through my son's head.
We need to start making noise.
I'm Justin Carter. This is TSR Investigates. The Sonia Massey murder case in Springfield, Illinois, it gripped the nation last week, but has now renewed the call for justice for a 4-year-old boy caught in the middle of a horrific domestic dispute. This happened back on March 16th, about 2 hours northwest of Springfield. It's a small town called Macomb, Illinois. Keianna Miller, she walks into her third-floor apartment with her son Terrell by her side and had no idea that her life was about to drastically change. It was just after 10 o'clock at night. Macomb Police, they received a number of calls about a domestic dispute. The victim, Keianna Miller, she was fighting for her life. She and her 4-year-old son Terrell were coming home from visiting family when she noticed that her boyfriend Anthony George had consumed a whole bottle of tequila. He was drunk and irate, repeatedly accusing her of cheating on him, which wasn't true.
Came into the room and he got on top of me and he said, "If I can't have you, nobody can." And then that's when he put the knife to my throat.
She says her son was in another room watching Scooby-Doo.
And he flipped me over because I had my nightgown on. He flipped me over and he got undressed. And as he was having sex with me, he was jabbing the knife into my back. It didn't penetrate, but I could feel it.
She managed to distract him, got her son, and tried to escape, but that's where things got violent.
We got out the door and we was going down the stairs and my son fell and he heard it. So he ran out the house naked and down the stairs and started stabbing me left and right.
He proceeded to stab Miller 25 times, while Terrell went and hid under his bed.
Where was he stabbing you?
He was stabbing me in my shoulder, my chest, underneath my breast, my stomach. He got me in my head.
She went into fight mode, started banging on doors to get her neighbors' attention.
He grabbed my hair and was pulling me back into the house.
That's when Macomb Police got the call. They got there in 3 minutes. Here's the body camera footage they just released with narration included.
When officers arrived on the scene, note the presence of blood on the walls of the stairwell.
Macomb Police, open the door.
After identifying themselves and ordering occupants to open the door, a female subject could be heard yelling, "He's stabbing me." Officers then forced their way into the apartment after identifying themselves. The officer points their issued firearm at the naked adult male, identifies himself as police, and issues lawful commands to see the suspect's hands.
You can see Keianna Miller's bloody hands as she exits the apartment. She says that she was in and out of consciousness and passed out several times in the hallway. Police also made note in the video that George had 2 knives in his hand and they only had seconds to respond.
The suspect then lunges out of sight and a child is heard screaming. The suspect eventually reappears with a knife in each hand, holding the child to his chest, 1 knife around the child's waist and 1 around the child's throat.
They had plenty of time to tase him, pepper spray him, jump him, or even shoot him. But instead, they just stood by the threshold and didn't come in, didn't do anything, just yelling and screaming for him to put the knives down. And then they watched him walk into my son's room and come back out.
She says that she continued to lose consciousness, but she did overhear an officer say that her son Terrell was safe. It wasn't until she woke up in the hospital hours later that she found out what really happened. Her family told her that her son, 4-year-old Terrell Miller, was gone.
I screamed so loud. Like, you felt it. You felt it.
He and George were both fatally shot by that officer.
He probably felt like they wasn't going to kill him if he was holding a kid. And that wasn't the case at all. He shot through my son's head, and that one bullet went through my son's head and through Anthony's neck.
For months, she's been pressing the Macomb Police Department to investigate and charge the officer who shot Terrell. His name is Lieutenant Nick Gock.
Basically, it was quiet. It was very quiet. It wasn't until my lawyer came here and cussed them out and got in their face before we started getting answers.
And with increased pressure from the public in wake of the death of Sonia Massey, who they say were family friends,
No justice, no peace.
Another blow just last week. It was announced that Lieutenant Gock would not face any charges. In a public statement, the McDonough County State's Attorney, Matt Quacala, said that a special prosecutor from the Illinois State's Attorney's Appellate Prosecutor's Office found that there was no basis for criminal charges against any of the law enforcement officers who responded to the scene. Quote, based upon that review, I find that there is no basis for any criminal action or prosecution that is supportable under the facts of this case against any of the officers involved in this tragic incident, end quote. What was your first reaction?
I was pissed off. I was mad. Like, my blood was boiling so much, I started sweating.
Even more so because she says police have been lying to her about Terrell's cause of death from the beginning.
Yeah, they had quite a few different stories. They said that killed my son before he started stabbing me. They said that Anthony was charging at the officer with the knife, and that's why the officer shot. And it was a whole bunch of BS.
It takes a village. We all need to be out here because it could have been any of our kids. It could have been our nieces. It could have been our nephews. It could have been our little cousin. It could have been anybody's kid. You still got to worry about it living in a small town. It's something that happens every day that you shouldn't have to worry about. No parent should ever have to worry about burying a child. All because nobody wants to have proper training and proper protocols. Like Keianna said, it's too easy for people to get a badge.
It's why family and friends spent the day Monday rallying and protesting in hopes of getting some justice for Terrell. In a statement, the chief of police of Macomb, Illinois, Jeff Hamer, he wrote in part, quote, that Lieutenant Nick Gock and Officer Corey Cameron responded to reports of domestic violence, and during the incident, deadly force was used and 2 individuals were deceased at the scene. Per Macomb Police Department policy, an outside agency, the Illinois State Police, handled the investigation. The 2 responding officers were immediately placed on administrative leave pending the results of the ISP investigation and an internal MPD investigation. While the decision to release this footage is supported by our commitment to transparency, our hearts and thoughts remain with the families affected by this tragedy. We will provide further updates at the regular intervals until the internal investigation is complete, end quote. In the meantime, Miller says as she continues to fight for justice for her son, she says she also plans to purchase homes in the community to act as domestic violence safe spaces called Spidey's Mission, of course, named after his favorite superhero, Spider-Man. And that's her goal, to ultimately help other families to prevent this from ever happening again, something that Spider-Man would do. For TSR Investigates, I'm Justin Carter. Hello roommates, and thank you for watching our YouTube channel. Do you want more TSR Investigates? Be sure to subscribe and check us out at theshaderoom.com.